So this video is going to be a little bit difficult, and that is because we're talking about one of the most technically complex characters in the entire game, and that's Moon Knight. Now, Moon Knight's designed very, very well, and he's really good within the kit that has been built for him. I think that there are a couple of other ways this character could have been designed that could have lent into the multiple personality aspect of his character, where he could potentially switch between 3 different modes and 3 different options that play a little bit differently, but that would have taken this character from being the complex character that he already is and dialing that up several degrees of magnitude, and that would create a problem, though I'm sure that there's a group of people out there that would be interested to see a character as dynamic as that with multiple different playsets and playstyles that can be used. So I don't think that that's something that I would suggest being changed about this character. And I don't want to suggest a kit overhaul to give him abilities that are closer with his comic iteration. I mean, from his list of abilities, he's got some pretty cool stuff. He's got Moon Empowerment that enhances his abilities at night, a lot of high-tech equipment, which isn't really shown because he is pretty dialed around his Ankh mechanic, and then he has a bunch of mobility options. Expert Detective, that's, I mean, there's some things that you could do to kind of showcase that, but it'd be a little bit tricky. Mystical Visions, that's not impossible in my mind to kind of include. Weapon Expert, again, you really don't see that, but you don't have a great way of implementing that without overhauling the kit as a whole, and the same kind of thing with Martial Artists. So I've been sitting here and really kind of racking my brain about what could be done to better represent his toolkit without completely overhauling his kit as it currently is. And I think that answer lies in giving him a passive. And that's something that we've suggested for a couple of the other heroes, and I think the best way to do that for Moon Knight is to reference that fact that the moon gives him power by rewarding him for using his abilities and landing damage on opponents. He's already in a pretty good spot, so why not make him a little bit more challenging, having him ramp up into that state where he deals a little bit more damage once he builds some momentum. And I think a really cool way to showcase that would be to have him have like a moon meter that fills up, and as that meter increases, the damage on his attacks increases. Now, that would mean that you have to scale the damage back on his current abilities in order to compensate for that. But maybe you put it in a situation where you reduce the damage out the gate, but when you get to that filled meter, you have a reward that's maybe 10 or 20% higher than what his current damage that he's dealing is, but have it taper basically immediately. Like, don't have a delay like you do with Emma Frost, where if you're not dealing damage for a time, it goes on pause for a few seconds before it starts to decay. I think this is something that needs to ebb and flow, much like the phases of the moon. And it should scale directly with that meter and that percentage, but it shouldn't increase his attack speed like it does on Blade, who has a very similar mechanic. I think that's kind of the best way to represent his aspect and connection to the moon outside of the voice lines where he talks about it incessantly. That would just kind of reference the fact that he has empowerment granted to him by the moon, while also not completely overhauling the kit that he has, because I don't want to do that. I think he's in a really good spot with the abilities that he does have and how they are so cohesive with each other. But what do you think? Do you think that there is a change that needs to be made to Moon Knight? I know that he's gotten a lot of buffs, especially when compared to quite a few other characters in the game, but I'm interested to hear what you think on the character and if there are any changes that should be implemented, what those might be. We'll be back with another Do List tomorrow.